Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Failing Forward. I am here with my incredible guest, Mr. Dr. Phil Carson. Good morning, Dr. Phil.
Good morning, Nikou. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be on the podcast with you today.
Thank you, sir. So excited and so blessed to have you here with us for joining the Failing Forward community, where we talk about all the stories, inspiration, motivation, empowerment for us to fail forward in our lives. And that failing forward can look like something in our relationships. It can look like business ventures, but you and I, it's been all about our health, failing forward in health and learning how to live our most holistically whole and balanced lives, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I'm so excited to get right into this episode today to introduce the audience to you and your wonder and to just give them a ton of value, like all the things that we've talked about. You've become my doctor in the last couple of months. You've helped me with supplementation to naturally heal some of my hormonal imbalances, to help me with some of my postpartum, to help me with some of my gut microbiome issues. And I just really want to get that information out to the world and our listeners. So, to introduce you all to my fantastic guest today, Phil Carson is a registered pharmacist, a doctor of pharmacy with a license in Mississippi and Tennessee. He graduated in 1985 from the University of Mississippi in the School of Pharmacy. He started off in traditional medicine as a pharmacist. As a holistic wellness coach now, he is a wellness consultant at the Brain Recovery Institute. He is the co-founder of the Life Transformation Medical Center and the president of Carson Natural Health, LLC. He's often referred to by his clients as a pharmacist who thinks outside the box of traditional medicine. Phil Carson believes in helping people find natural alternatives and integrative medicine solutions to their health problems. He's committed to leading people to finding the root cause of their health issues and not just treating the symptoms. We're not about band-aids here. We're about, where's this problem coming from? How can we heal it? And then how can we move forward living our happiest, healthiest, most whole lives? Phil is passionate about encouraging and teaching people how to live healthier, more energetic, more resilient lives while equipping them with the knowledge to make the right choices for their optimal health. He's also the author of a fantastic book, How to Live Until You Die, which I've been reading and it's incredible. And he believes in promoting healthy marriages and families, as he's been married to his beautiful bride, Kim, for over 37 years. And they have 5 happy and healthy children with 3 grandchildren as of late. Dr. Phil, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited. So let's get right into it. How did you start this journey? I mean, you went to school for pharmacy. You were a pharmacist.
Yep.
You were doing incredibly well. Like, business was good, career was good. And then you made a shift and you went from pharmacy to holistic health. What happened? How did it happen? Tell us more.
All right. Thanks, Nikou. Thanks for that great introduction. Yes, I started on my journey toward natural health out of a desire to find answers for my own health problems. I was struggling with major digestive issues. I was on several medications, trying to find some relief for that. And I was not getting the relief I was looking for. The stress of the work, the stress of going through pharmacy school, some family stresses. I was getting hit from all directions with some major stress issues, and eating very poorly, eating on the run all the time. I was in a high pressure pharmacy operation where, back in that day, we didn't get breaks. You were not afforded the opportunity to take a lunch break, to get bathroom breaks. You just had to try to grab something when you could. And so I ate standing up most of the time, still eat standing up sometimes because I did it for so many years. And I learned to eat as fast as I could, which is not good. And that's something that I still struggle with to this day, is slowing down when I eat. But stress, very poor diet, caused me to have some major digestive issues. And the handful of medications I was taking, the 2 bottles of antacid I was drinking every day, was only giving me some temporary relief. So one day I walked in a bookstore and there was a brand new display of books sitting on the floor. And I caught my eye, stopped, started thumbing through this book called The Prescription for Natural Healing, or for Nutritional Healing, rather. Prescription for Nutritional Healing, written by Dr. James Balch and his wife, who is a clinical nutritionist. Dr. Balch is actually a urologist. But thankfully, they collaborated and wrote this amazing book that literally changed my life and saved my life, because the things I learned in that book that I could do for my digestive issues naturally, holistically, did change my life and set me on a whole new course of ideas about holistic medicine, about natural things, natural therapies, about supplements. Because in pharmacy school, I was taught the history of natural medicine. I was taught that, and these are the exact words, and I'll never forget them because I've repeated this many times to people over the years. One of my professors made the comment in our probably 1 hour lecture on nutrition one day that we had through the whole 5-6 years of pharmacy school.
1 hour of nutrition and 6 years of school. That is incredibly wrong.
Yeah. Well, we had, I remember this one lecture, and I remember exactly the words he said. He said, a vitamin is a vitamin is a vitamin. We don't need them. And so I found that to be very false, untrue, years later, when I was beginning to take courses in natural therapies and natural medicine, holistic therapies, and all kinds of supplements. So anyway, that's what got
can I
me
ask you a question?
Headed me in that direction. Yes.
He said a vitamin is a vitamin is a vitamin. We don't need them. So he's saying we don't need vitamin C for our immune system. He's saying we don't need vitamin A and D for our mood. Is that what he was saying? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Magnesium and all these things. We don't need those things. That's what they're telling you in school.
Yes.
Wow. I'm floored. That isn't like, you look at life now and it's like, all right, you're sick, get vitamin C, get zinc, get elderberry, build up your immune system. Okay, you're having some brain fog, get some omega-3s into your system, get these vitamins into your system, they'll help supplement you. But back then, what you went to school for, and correct me if I'm wrong, once you become a doctor of pharmacy, you're a doctor of pharmacy and you're practicing under that for the rest of your career, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, correct?
Yeah.
So people are going to school being given the information that a vitamin is a vitamin is a vitamin. You don't need them.
Yeah. They
okay,
were
good.
not important.
I just want to make sure the audience heard that, because when you go to doctors, and I love doctors, I'm not bashing on doctors. I think doctors are great. There's a lot of doctors out there that are doing continuous education, getting recertified, relicensed, learning the new ways. But there's a lot of us, unfortunately, that we got educated back in the day when they told us a vitamin is a vitamin is a vitamin, you don't need them. And they are practicing under that notion that is their belief system, because they didn't read other books. They didn't seek other solutions. They're like, well, this is what I learned in school. That's fact. And that's how I'm going to operate.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was my experience, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I talk with so many practitioners or so many patients that have been given guidance, been giving information, been given protocols to follow by practitioners in all areas of healthcare, as far as nutritionists, dietitians, doctors, that the information they've gotten is antiquated. It was what they learned when they went through school, just like what you're talking about, that they were sharing with their patients, and they were not staying up to date on the latest things, on what the new developments, the new studies out there that are proving what they were teaching to be totally wrong. And so, unfortunate, that's still happening today. But I think the philosophy of this professor was, and this is the philosophy of so many people I've talked to over the years, is that we should be able to get all the nutrients we need in the food that we eat. I wish that was true, but it's not, because the foods that, unless I would say this, you probably could get all the nutrients in the food that you eat if you grew your own food organically on your own farm in your own mineral rich soil. And so, unfortunately, our foods that we eat, we buy in the grocery store, we buy at a farmer's market or wherever, they're foods that have been grown on these massive farming operations where the soils are depleted. The nutrients are basically void of, the foods are basically void of nutrients a lot of times. Even Tufts University, the famous nutrition university in Boston, did a study years ago testing several different types of fruits and vegetables and found them to be, like I just said, almost void of nutrients. And these were, things that are being sold in grocery stores every day. And I know some of the fruit that I pick up in the grocery store, sometimes it has no taste. I have to throw it away. I can't eat it. So
yeah, that's such a good point.
That's unfortunate, but that's what's happening. So yes, that information that a vitamin is definitely not true at all. It may have been 100 years ago when people were growing their own food and eating their own foods, organic grown foods, but
from good
not
soil
true today. Yes, from
good soil, because we're all going out there to Whole Foods and these places and buying organic food. But what you don't realize is where they're farming that food from, the soil that they're growing it from, even though it's grown organically, if that soil is depleted, then your food's going to be depleted of the nutrition and the vitamins. And I think you were with us on Saturday, Dr. Phil, in Breakfast with Champions when I was interviewing my good friend Mark, but he was saying, as someone, in nutrition and the health and wellness field as well, that a cup of spinach today is not the same as a cup of spinach before 1960. Like the nutrition density and the amount of minerals, healthy minerals that we're getting from it, you can't compare. It would take you eating 7 apples today to get the same nutrition content that you got from 1 apple prior to 1960s. And they're both organic. So 4 organic apples today compared to 1 organic apple back then. It's because the soil's been depleted of the nutrition.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah. And that's that's a sad fact. And the nutrients that we should be getting from the foods that we eat are designed to keep our bodies healthy, to keep everything functioning like it's supposed to. So I believe that the majority of people that are walking around today that are suffering from these chronic diseases, they have nutritional deficiencies. They're being medicated for the symptoms, but nobody's addressing the underlying cause of those symptoms. And that's something that is what I do today. I help people, get to the root cause of the problem. And that's what I did for myself. I got to the root cause of the problem. And that's what I learned in that book that I was just talking about, the prescription for nutritional healing, was that root cause of my digestive issues. And when I learned that, and I started putting into practice what I learned in that book, I did a basic home test to determine if I had low stomach acid or not, because that's what Dr. Baltz said. If you're suffering from all these digestive problems, you may have low stomach acid. So I did a simple home test that he suggested in the book. And I discovered that that's what I was suffering from. I had a condition, there's a medical term for it. It's called hypochlorhydria, which is the medical term for low stomach acid. So when I started supplementing with hydrochloric acid, I first did apple cider vinegar. I used apple cider, and I still use apple cider vinegar today. And so when I did that, my symptoms subsided. And then he talked about digestive enzymes in this book. So I started taking digestive enzymes as well. And then probiotics, I added that one. So those 3 supplements changed my life and set me on a whole new course with my health and with my desire to change the way I practice pharmacy and change the way I thought and what I could do to help my patients. Because one of the top prescribed drugs in the world today is these acid blockers. And there are so many people that are taking these prescription acid blockers and over-the-counter acid blockers, because many of the ones that came out years ago, when not long after I got out of pharmacy school, are over-the-counter now. And so a lot of these drugs have been brought over the counter. But here's a sad fact, Nikou. When those drugs first came out on the market, in the product labeling, the manufacturer's product labeling, it told in there in big box warnings, these are designed for temporary use. It should only be used for a short period of time. You no more than 30 days is what most of them said. People are taking these medications now every single day, year upon year upon year, and they're destroying the acid producing cells in their stomach. And most likely what they need is more acid, not less, in my case. And one of the doctors that taught one of the courses that I took in natural therapies years ago, he wrote a book, Why Stomach Acid is Good for You. And so there's been a lot more, awareness brought to the world and to people that these medications that block your acid are not the answer. And so many people are dealing with these issues like I was. And that's something I was able to do through my pharmacy practice and through the stores that I was managing, the stores I ended up owning years later, share those things with people. And so I started, back when I learned all that, I started taking courses. I started traveling across the country, taking all the courses that I could in holistic therapies. And I still do that today. I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. Love researching. I love trying to find new things and new answers for people that are struggling with all kinds of health issues. But the gut health is major with people, and so many people are struggling with that. And that gut-brain connection that we can talk about later is something that's very, very important there as well, I believe.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into that gut-brain connection because people don't realize that so much of our mood disorders and our brain functionality, like having mental clarity or experiencing brain fog, right? A lot of that's coming from our gut being taxed. So I do want to dive into that. But before we do, I was reading your book, and one story that it brought me to tears. I'm not going to lie, because this is my experience, but it's a story that you were telling about Jerry and this woman that came into your pharmacy, and her husband, Jerry, was in hospice care and he was sent home to die. They were like, okay, yeah. Jerry's at his life's end. He was experiencing some heart disease and heart failure, and the doctors had him on all these medications. So she was coming in to fill the script, but she just wanted to make his life as comfortable as possible. And in her visiting you at that time, you had just started to make that switch from traditional medicine pharmacist to exploring all this holistic stuff, to exploring supplementation, to exploring vitamins, to exploring deficiencies, right? And you had just read in a course or got a certification, and you realize that there's a vitamin CoQ10 that helps with the heart. And if you could just dive into that story, that experience with Jerry, his wife, and what happened there and how you changed Jerry's life and you prolonged it. If you could just tell that story, I think that'd be really powerful for the audience, for those of us that are, going to doctors, getting scripts, going to the pharmacy, filling our new script every single month, every 90 days, and living off of medication to band-aid the symptoms that we're experiencing versus actually getting to the root cause. I think Jerry's story is really, really powerful, and I'd love for you to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I may get emotional telling that story because I've told it many, many times, and I get emotional every single time I tell it. Because
I was crying, and my husband's like, "Why are you crying reading a book?" I'm like, "You don't understand. Dr. Phil gets it."
Yeah, well, that was a divine appointment. I have no doubt about that. With that encounter with Jerry's wife. That she came in the store that day, because that week before I had just taken a certification course with a cardiologist from Johns Hopkins University, that he taught all about the natural things and natural therapies and things we could do for people suffering from heart disease. And he focused a lot on Coenzyme Q10, which I had no idea what it was at that time. But he said that he put all of his heart patients on Coenzyme Q10. And CoQ10 is a vital nutrient that we have to have. It's vital for every cell in our body. It's part of what's known as the Krebs cycle, which is a cellular energy cycle in our bodies. And CoQ10 is a vital part of that cycle. And CoQ10 helps keep the muscles in our bodies working and functioning and energized. So he said the most important muscle in your body is your heart muscle. It never stops, and of course, until you die. And so you have to keep that muscle going. And he said that's why CoQ10 works so well for people with heart issues, especially heart failure. And that's what Jerry was suffering from, was congestive heart failure. And they actually told him there was nothing else they could do for him. So when I walked out to tell this lady, who happened to be a nurse as well, and she didn't know what CoQ10 was either. But anyway, I went out, I told her, about the side effects of the medication and those kind of things. And I said, I want to tell you about something I just learned about. So I shared with her, the story about what I had learned with CoQ10. And she said, well, let me talk to my doctor that I work with and see what he says, and I'll get back to you. So a few days later, she came back and she said, he said, what's it going to hurt? Let him try it. Well, you got to lose. And I was happy that he said that. He didn't really know what CoQ10 was, but he said, what's it going to hurt? I guess he looked it up and he said, and he even told her a dose, said, put him on 300 milligrams a day and let's see what happens. So she bought a bottle, she took it home. And a few days later, or it was probably a week or two later, she came back and she said, I need to get another bottle of CoQ10. She said, I wish I had taken pictures of Jerry so you could see what he looked like before he started on this CoQ10. She said he had such severe edema. He was swollen almost twice his normal size, couldn't get out of bed on his own. And she said the edema is almost gone and he's able to get up out of bed and go to the bathroom on his own. And I said, wow, that is amazing. And so she left. A few weeks later, she comes back and she says, I need some more CoQ10. I said, well, great. I said, Jerry's doing good, huh? She said, it's amazing. He is doing so well. And she said, I took him to Walmart today. And of course, I got him out. He got in a wheelchair and I rolled him in. But she said, when he got inside, he wasn't staying in that wheelchair. He got out. He walked around with me the whole time. And she said, I'm just amazed at how well he's doing. And I said, that is awesome. I love it. And so she gets another bottle. She leaves. A few weeks later, she comes back. She says, I need some more. She said, he's doing great. And I said, well, tell me what's going on with Jerry. She said, this is kind of funny. She said, today he got out and mowed the backyard and came back in the house. And she said, asked him, said, are you not going to mow the front yard? He said, no. He said, I don't want anybody seeing me mow the yard. I'm supposed to be dying. And
wow.
So she was just, excited beside herself and got some more CoQ10. And I was just, elated and beside myself as well, because he was doing so well. And this guy was sent home to die and he's out mowing the yard. And but I didn't see her for a long time after that. And I wondered, I said, well, where'd she go? What happened? And it was, I don't know, it was several months later that she came back in and she told me that he had gone back to work driving a truck. He was a truck driver.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah. And I
So
said,
someone that was bedridden.
Amazing. Yeah. He went from bedridden on his deathbed to back to work driving a truck. And that was the last time I saw her until about, I don't know, it was probably a couple years later. She came walking back in my store one day. and actually called me out front. And she didn't have any prescriptions to fill. She wasn't looking for more CoQ10.
Deep breath, deep breath. I know where this is going. I read the book. I'm with you.
Yeah. She, excuse me.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right. She called me out front. Then she said, I just wanted to come by today and thank you. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Nikou.
I understand the reason why we do what we do, Dr. Phil, is because we have a passion for helping and serving others and living their most optimal lives, void of having to go to the doctor every other week, void of having to get their blood work done every other week, void of having to be pricked and prodded every month, void of having to fill a script every month. Like, we want people to realize that there's a better alternative out there. There's natural ways to help you live a healthier, happier, more holistic life. You don't have to keep going and drinking 2 bottles a day of antacids to solve some of your digestive issues. You don't have to be experiencing gut-wrenching pain. You don't have to be told that your life is over. There's nothing else we can do for you. You're bedridden. Go home, be comfortable. Hospice can't help you anymore. Enjoy the last few days of your life. And then you find an angel worker like you that is going through this journey of learning about integrative medicine, learning about holistic health, and find something as simple as CoQ10, a naturally reoccurring nutrient that we found a way to deliver into the system that can help repair the muscles, repair the heart, prolong someone's life, give them the ability to get rid of their edema, which is a swelling of their body, be able to get out of bed, mow their lawn, go back to work, be a truck driver again, live longer than anyone ever said that they could, because you did the work on getting the knowledge that there is a better way.
Yeah.
You're an incredible human. So I want you to remember that you gave Jerry life back. You gave his wife her husband back, his vitality, his joy.
Yeah. That's right. And she she told me, thank you so much for what you told me about CoQ10 and giving Jerry his life back. Exactly what she said. And she said, I just came by to tell you today that he just recently passed away. But she said it wasn't his heart. He had a rare liver disease that they didn't know about. And he ended up dying of this liver disease, not from heart disease. And she said, I'm so grateful because these extra few years that he got his life right with God. And today he's in heaven. So, wow.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I'm trying to keep it together because I actually did my makeup today for once. I never do my makeup. So I'm like, don't cry. You're wearing too much mascara. But yeah, I mean, it's so powerful. He was sent home on his deathbed because of a heart issue with a simple supplement. You got him off all the other medication that she was coming in to fill, just taking CoQ10 that prolonged his life, that healed his heart. And unfortunately, something else went undiagnosed, and it does happen. But as long as we're realizing, I just want the audience to realize that there are holistic ways, there are natural ways to heal yourself, void of just chemicals that we're putting into our bodies that we become dependent on. And then those chemicals cause other symptoms that cause other issues. And then you need to get more chemicals put in to heal those other issues. There are holistic alternatives to help you with your heart, to help you with your sleep, to help you with your digestion, to help you with your bloating, to help you with your weight loss. Don't go and start taking Xenadrin and all this crazy stuff out there. I used to do it. I was a fitness model. From 15 to 21, I had to be as thin as possible, modeling and doing swimsuit modeling and all that stuff. And I would take Xenadrin. I would starve myself. I would eat a handful of almonds for an entire week before a photo shoot, like the most unhealthy things, because I just needed to, look a certain way. And what I realized is there are ways to eat where I can eat whatever I want until I am full, 3-4 meals a day. And I actually look thinner and more lean today, eating correctly because I educated myself on nutrition. I educated myself on foods that cause bloating versus foods that do not, on foods that give you energy versus foods that do not. And that's what this episode is all about. It's about education. And if you don't have the education today, you don't have the time to get the education. Guess what? There are those of us that I'm bringing onto this podcast, like Dr. Phil, that have spent their life since 1985 getting educated on these natural, holistic ways of helping you live your most vital life. That's what this is all about. That's what failing forward is all about. We have gotten forward in our lives by failing at our health first, and then failing forward, learning better ways to live more optimally and more healthily. You for your gut, me for my postpartum depression, me for my anxiety, me for my extreme chronic inflammation and bloating since the age of 15. I'm turning 34 next month. For almost 20 years of my life, I would eat something, and it could be nothing, Dr. Phil. It could be a handful of almonds and like some strawberries, and I would be bloated from a handful of almonds and some strawberries. That's not even enough food to get bloated. And I would look like I was 4 months bloated. I'm looking in the mirror like, what is this whole eating thing about? Why do I even eat anymore? What I didn't realize until I got onto my own journey was the bloating was happening because of issues that had been stemming in my gut from decades ago, from when I was in middle school and high school, because of my eating habits back then. You and I had a great conversation last night, loving fried food, loving eating on the go, eating on the run, because we were busy, right? You were a busy pharmacist. You didn't make time for your meals. There were no breaks back then. You said that.
Right.
So you ate what you could, and it was oftentimes not the best food choices. Well, those bad food choices, guess what they're doing? They are ruining your gut. They are damaging your intestinal lining. There's something called intestinal permeability, which is the ability for all the nutrition to stay in your intestines and go through the system. If you damage your lining enough, you get these little holes in there where now you start to leak out gases into your gut. So every time you eat, those gases are leaking into your gut, causing inflammation, causing bloating, causing gut-wrenching pain. That's called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut. That's what I was diagnosed with last year. And when I first got diagnosed, the doctor said, you need to take 3 weeks of antibiotics. And at the time I refused. I had an 8-month-old baby. We were going through COVID. I was breastfeeding him. I was like, if I take antibiotics today, I can't pass that on to my child. That just doesn't sit well with me. So I found a holistic way of changing my diet to heal my gut completely through food and some meditation, because I had to get my mind right. And my SIBO was negative 5 weeks later, and I never filled the script. I never took a single antibiotic. I continued to breastfeed my baby through COVID. And now I'm on this mission to tell women specifically, because I think the majority of us, we really care about our bloating, Dr. Phil. I don't know if men care about bloating as much. Women really care about bloating. Like we go on date night, we're like, I can't eat that. I know that's going to make me bloated. I'm not going to look good in this dress, right? So I'm on a mission right now to tell women, you can eat what you want. You just need to get educated on what it is that you can eat and not be bloated. And if you're experiencing bloating and gut-wrenching pain, guess what? I found a solution to solve it holistically through food. You don't need to take all of these crazy diets out there and do all this crazy fasting and all this complicated protocol. And no, you don't need to do all that. I've done keto. I've done paleo. I've done Whole30. I've done the gamut, because I work in nutrition. I work in fitness. So I've had to learn it all. And it wasn't until what I found last year that healed my gut, that healed my SIBO, that then healed my postpartum depression. When my gut healed and my bloating went away, I started to notice I'd wake up in the morning happy. I was like, I just woke up feeling energized today. I didn't wake up feeling groggy. What's going on? And then I get out of bed and be like, I'm excited to go pick up my 9-month-old screaming baby. What is going on? And then my husband would start telling me I need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, I am so grateful for my husband. My mindset is changing. What is going on? And I hadn't done anything for that. All I did was change what I was eating, which healed my SIBO, healed my gut. And all of a sudden my mood got better and my postpartum depression started to go away. So let's dive into the gut brain connection, because this is something that I just learned about 1 year ago. And I know you've been studying it for decades. Let's get right into it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I love this. And, at that story I just told, some of the courses that I took after that course on heart disease were on the gut. I learned about something back then that I had never heard of either. It was called dysbiosis and leaky gut syndrome. And this was things that I'd never heard, that things that weren't being talked about. And so I began to learn about that gut brain connection 20 something years ago. And not long after I took those courses, a book came out by Dr. Michael Gerson called Our Second Brain, which he was talking about the gut being our second brain. And some people say it's our first brain, but actually there is a gut-brain connection. The nervous system that feeds the gut area of our bodies is called the enteric nervous system, and it's interconnected with our central nervous system. So if the central nervous system is disrupted, if we have a brain injury, it disrupts the enteric nervous system. If we have, if our enteric nervous system is disrupted, there's all kinds of gut issues going on. It disrupts the central nervous system, the brain, which is the major part of the central nervous system. And I share this with people a lot to give them an understanding of how this gut-brain connection works, especially when it comes to medication. Because with medications, like people are given a lot of times for depression, for postpartum depression, for any kind of depression, for anxiety. These are called psychotropic drugs, antidepressant drugs, anti-anxiety drugs, and they're taken to help stabilize or help balance out neurotransmitters in the brain. But what's the number one side effect of those medications? Number one side effect is stomach upset, constipation, diarrhea. There's your gut-brain connection right there. And so and another analogy that I use is if you've ever been nervous, say you have to get up and speak in front of a crowd of people, you have to do a presentation at a corporate meeting or at school or whatever, what happens? You're nervous, you're thinking about all these things. What happens to the gut when all that's going on in your mind? You get butterflies in your gut at least. Some people end up having to walk off stage before they go on stage and throw up. I've heard that story many times.
That's me.
Yeah. And so there again is the gut-brain connection from the other direction. So it makes sense that those two nervous systems are interconnected and one affects the other. So when the gut is disrupted, yeah, it'll absolutely affect the function of your brain. And one of the main things that I hear people describe to me a lot of times when there's gut issues going on, they call it brain fog. And a lot of people are suffering from what's called brain fog, where you just can't think clearly, you can't think straight, or you get hung up on your thoughts, or you get hung up on words, or you hung up on trying to get things to come out. What you're thinking not coming out right across your lips.
All the mamas that are listening right now know exactly what you're talking about. We call it mom brain. You have a baby and you're like,
yep.
Did I brush my teeth? Wait, did I take a shower? Wait, 3 times later, I just brushed my teeth 3 times. Like your brain is just, it's gone. And a lot of that is just from the experience of having a baby and the hormones being so imbalanced and trying to rebalance. And then of course, chronic sleep deprivation, which we're going to talk about sleep today too. But the mamas are listening, that mama brain, that's like, this is the brain fog that Dr. Phil's talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's what happens. I believe, and studies will prove this out and show this. And I remember reading this in a book years ago by Dr. Joel Wallach about nutritional deficiencies and the problems that nutritional deficiencies can cause. And postpartum depression is actually the root cause of postpartum depression is nutritional deficiencies. Because when you're pregnant, the baby is pulling so much from your body. So even if you're eating well, you're feeding 2 people, and the baby is pulling so much nutrition from the body. But a lot of times too, a lot of women go through sometimes a few days, sometimes a few weeks, sometimes the first trimester, they're throwing up every day and not keeping down the nutrients. And so they go into, throughout the pregnancy, they're depleted already from the nausea, the vomiting, the stomach upset, during those first few weeks or months or whatever it ends up being. It's different with different individuals. And
Yeah,
then
some moms, it's the whole
also,
pregnancy.
yeah, and that's right. And then also a lot of women, they're just not eating well either, as well as they should be, and not getting the good nutritious foods like we talked about earlier. Even if they are eating well, they're still not getting all the vital nutrients. And one of the things that really annoyed me and still annoys me to this day is these commercial so-called one-a-day vitamins that are sold and that are prescribed to women, that are called prenatal vitamins. They're supposed to be this vitamin supplement, vitamin and mineral supplements, supposed to give you the nutrients that you need. I encourage women, back when I had pharmacies, to not take them. Get a good high quality multivitamin and mineral that your body can actually absorb. Because what I tell people, these one-a-day type vitamins, that are, they're so-called vitamins, they're really not. If you look at the labels and you look at what's in them, they're synthetic. There's all kinds of chemicals and preservatives, artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, junk that is added to these so-called vitamins and minerals, that are not good for you. I've always told people, they would come in and ask me, well, what about I'm taking this? Is this a good one? I would look at them and I say, well, let me tell you the truth. I would recommend that you go outside and pick up a handful of rocks off the ground and swallow one of those every day instead of that vitamin that you're taking, because it would be better for you.
Yeah.
And so the thing, and with the postpartum depression and depression that people are dealing with in general, they're not getting those vital nutrients that they need. And so with postpartum depression, that's what happens. You don't get those nutrients that you need to make the neurotransmitters in the brain that are needed to keep you happy, to keep you from being depressed, to keep you from being overly anxious. And that happy hormone or happy neurotransmitters called serotonin. And that's what these drugs are that are being used, in which I'm not anti-drugs. A lot of medication has saved people's lives and prolonged people's lives. And there are a lot of medications that people do need, but there's a lot that they don't need, and they need to be looking at addressing the root cause. And so when it comes to postpartum depression, a medication is not the total answer. It may help get you out of a crisis, but you still got to address the underlying root cause of those nutritional deficiencies that are needed to help your body make those neurotransmitters, in particular here, the serotonin on its own. Like magnesium and vitamin B6, essential fats that are found in fish primarily. And so those are some key nutrients that are needed, that people are not getting enough of in their diet. They're not getting, if they are taking a supplement, they're probably not digesting it, absorbing it well, because it's not a good quality vitamin and mineral supplement that the body can easily break down and digest. So that's I appreciate you bringing that up, Nikou, and that's awesome stuff.
So I so appreciate you deep diving into the whole postpartum depression thing, because that's something that I've personally been dealing with since my son was 8 weeks old. He was born August of 2019. Fast forward, now we're at the end of April 2021, and I still deal with it mildly, but nothing like the way it was last year this time. And I remember when I first got diagnosed they gave me like a 10-question paper. They're like, answer yes or no. And I did the yes or no. And the doctor came in, she's like, yep, you have postpartum depression. I'm like, wow, just from yeses and nos. Okay. And then after that, of course, they did blood work and all that stuff. And they did the hormone panels, and they saw that, yes, I was incredibly imbalanced. However, most women are going to their OBGYN on their 6-week appointment, their 8-week appointment, and they are taking a yes or no quiz. And that yes or no quiz will tell them, are you depressed or not? And if they are, the immediate diagnosis or solution to that is, let's get you on a low grade SSRI, antidepressant, call it Zoloft, Prozac, Lexapro, whatever. And that's where the doctors go. Like, that's their first line help to help you mitigate the feelings that you're having, the thoughts that you're having, because like you said, Dr. Phil, it's kind of like crisis mode, depending on the severity of the postpartum depression. Mine was pretty severe. I mean, I actually gave my son 3 godmothers because I was that afraid that I wouldn't make it. That's how bad my situation was. But going back to the gut brain connection is because I had SIBO that I've probably had for 15 years. And that SIBO, that leaky gut, was something that not only was I being depleted of my nutrients during pregnancy because the baby was taking everything I was putting in, but then I also had this gut issue where everything was going into my, the gas was leaking out. So combine the gut being damaged and myself being depleted of nutrition because I was carrying my baby, and then my hormones being completely messed up after having the baby, because now your body's like, oh, let's rebalance. We don't have this baby that we're housing anymore. Let's get you back to normal. That combination was a recipe for disaster where I had very, very high level postpartum depression. And my OBGYN, her nurse practitioner, the therapist that I talked to, they all said Zoloft, 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 Zoloft. And I kept telling them, no, 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 no. Like, I don't want to take chemicals. You guys, I'm going to be completely transparent for the audience right now. Trigger warning. When I was in high school, I left home and I became an emancipated minor. I divorced myself from my parents and went and lived on my own for a number of different reasons. From that decision, I started to experience a lot of pain, emotional pain, mental pain. And unfortunately, a couple of times I did try to take my own life. By the will of God, he said, I'm not done with you, my child. You are stuck here. You have a message, you have a purpose. So he didn't let it happen. We'll just leave it at that. And I know that wasn't by my doing. That was a divine intervention, a divine power that knew that my life was not to be ended yet, even by my own hands. I go to say that because from the age of 17 years old till 22, I was on SSRIs. I was on every form of medication that my psychiatrist or my psychologist would tell me I should take, from Zoloft to Prozac to Lexapro to Lamictal to you name it. They were like, maybe you have bipolar depression because it runs in your family. Let's put you on this medication and see if it helps. All they were doing was treating me as a guinea pig. They couldn't guarantee that I had bipolar. So what did? They started me off at a low dose, and then they built it up to a little bigger dose and a little bigger dose. And I started having all these crazy side effects. I started to experience all these crazy things. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. This isn't helping me. I'm not feeling any better. So then what did? They went from a high dose to a medium dose to a low dose. So they cycle you up and then they have to cycle you off. And in that time, I'm having all these chemicals put into my body that were wreaking havoc on my gut. They were literally ruining my digestive system. This is why I've had SIBO since probably I was in high school. This is why I have this chronic inflammation and bloating since before my college days, because of all the chemicals I was putting into my body, antidepressants, to help me with some issues that I was dealing with at a young age because of trauma and things that I experienced. Now, that's not to say that I'm against antidepressants. Like Dr. Phil said, there's a time and a need for everything. But if you're going to go on chemicals, I think it's very important to detox your body from them and to heal your gut from them through nutrition, through good foods, through proper supplementation. That's all we're saying for the audience. So fast forward now, I'm 32 years old. I have my first baby. I have this extreme depression. I refuse to take the SSRIs because, like Dr. Phil said, the main side effect of them is then issues with the gut, constipation, inflammation, all these things. And the thing about that is, so you take a medication that's supposed to help you with your mood. Then that medication ruins your gut. And then your gut's off. So then what happens? Then the gut sends a signal to the brain. I'm not happy. I don't feel good. So now your mood is messed up again. So now you need another medication to fix that new mood issue. It's a vicious cycle, my friends. Yep. So I just wanted to point that out because as you were talking about that, I was like, ooh, he's cycling right now, because this is going to deep dive me into why I kept saying no, 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 even though I was having these crazy thoughts after I had my baby. And you would think it's like the happiest time of my life. I just got married. We got pregnant on the honeymoon. We had the baby 9.5 months later. Like life was a blessing. God was just bringing so many joys into my life. And here I am 8 weeks with this beautiful baby boy, with an incredible husband and a beautiful house in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm sitting here thinking about, how can I make it through the next 2 days? Like, I don't know if I can do this. I was questioning myself. But what I knew from my experience from 17 to 22 is that the medication wasn't my option because I knew what path that would take me down. I didn't want to be cycled up and down on different medications for doctors to see, does this one work for me? Does that one not work for me? Whatever. And I also didn't want that to be in my body, possibly being passed through my breast milk to my baby. And they all said, oh, it's low grade. It's not really going to affect them. Well, you know what? We don't know that. And I'd rather not chance it. So what I did is I just healed my gut. I got really, I was very fortunate, Dr. Phil. Before meeting you, I went to my OBGYN doctor. I went to 2 different primary care physicians. I went to a GI specialist, gastroenterologist, an enterologist. I can never say that word. I went to 3 different naturopaths. I went to 2 hormone specialists. I was on a weekly testosterone shot to help me with my energy. I was getting biweekly blood work done just to kind of see, depending on where I am in my cycle, where my hormones were. I was doing all these things. And I was on this mission to figure out, how can I heal my mood in a different way outside of Zoloft? And one naturopath was like, based on all these symptoms that you're telling me, you're chronically fatigued. You're always tired. You wake up after having slept 7-8 hours and you're still exhausted, needing a nap by 9:30, 10 a.m. You eat and you immediately get bloated. You are constipated sometimes for 3 to 4 days at a time. Based on her listening to my symptoms, she's like, has anyone tested you for SIBO? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. She's like, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut caused by blah, blah, blah. She educated me on it. And I was like, no, they haven't. So she sends me home with the SIBO thing. It's like a 2-hour thing. You have to breathe into these things, whatever. You send it back, came back positive. And my mind was blown. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, your gut is damaged. Every time you eat, you're leaking gas into your gut. That's causing inflammation. That's causing your gut wrenching pain. This is why you're constipated. Your digestive system is not working correctly. You're not absorbing the healthy foods that you're putting into your body because your gut lining is damaged, right? And on top of that, because your gut is damaged, your entire body systems are sending all the warriors to your gut to help heal your gut. And that's why your immune system's down, your mood system's down, and all the other systems in your body, reproductive system, cardiovascular system, all of that, they're all being taxed. When I healed my SIBO through food, getting rid of sugar, I broke my sugar addiction. That was the first thing I had to do. Then I got rid of all the processed foods. And then I got rid of all the excess fiber that was really taxing my gut lining that was already damaged. And I started to heal my gut from within through food and mindfulness and meditation and visualization exercises. That's when my mood started to get better. So it's that gut brain connection. The SIBO went away. My body was able to function more vitally. It was able to send the warriors to my heart and my immune system and my digestive system and my brain system. And all of a sudden, Nikou started to feel like Nikou again. It's amazing. So
that is awesome.
I just really wanted to share that story because I know that there are women out there that are currently experiencing this. If they're not experiencing postpartum depression, they are experiencing chronic bloating, where every time they eat, they get bloated. They're experiencing chronic inflammation where they have swelling of the joints. They're experiencing gut-wrenching pain and they don't know why. They're eating healthy things, quote unquote healthy. They're experiencing brain fog and fatigue in the early hours of the day with adequate sleep. And I don't think what they're realizing is that something is wrong in their gut and they need to take a deeper dive into that and not just go and fill the script at the pharmacy once a month.
Yeah. Good. That's awesome. And I know the story you just shared is going to help a lot of people. I'll add one thing to that. I have a quote in my book from Dr. Royal Lee. It says, one of the biggest tragedies of human civilization is the precedence of chemical therapy over nutrition. It's a substitution of artificial therapy over nature, of poisons over food, in which we are feeding people poisons trying to correct the reactions of starvation. And that's basically what was going on with you. Your body was starving for nutrients because it wasn't able to absorb them properly. And that's the root cause of so many people's diseases today, and all these chronic diseases, as we were talking about earlier. And that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about what I do. And I want people to know that. I want people to know that there are underlying causes. There are root causes to the health problems that can be addressed, that are not being properly addressed. And the doctors are doing what they're trained to do. You can't fault them. I don't fault the doctors for what they're doing. They're doing exactly what
100%.
they're trained to do, and what they're taught to do. And that's what they know, and that's what they've been trained that they're supposed to do. But I'm thankful that there are naturopaths. I'm thankful that there are functional medicine doctors today that are beginning to help people get to the root cause of their health issues, and not just put a Band-Aid on the problem by addressing the symptoms with a chemical. And so you divinely walked into an office of a practitioner or a clinic or whatever there, and got some the help you really needed. And it's awesome that you're doing this podcast to share this message, to help get this message out to other people who don't know. They don't know that there are alternatives. They don't know that there are other ways, and there are other types of practitioners out there. Because I ask people all the time, I said, are you seeing a functional medicine doctor? What is that? They don't know. They have no idea. And I have to explain it to them, that functional medicine doctors, functional medicine practitioners, whether they be pharmacists, doctors, dietitians, whatever area of health they're in, if they're functional medicine, they're going to ask you a lot of questions, and they're going to try to help you get to the root cause of the problem. They're going to listen to you. And that's something that I've had so many of my clients come to me and say that nobody's listening to me. You're the first person who's ever listened to me. And that's a sad fact, that so many people are not being listened to. And a lot of times people will tell you what their problem is, and they'll give you a lot of clues if you just ask questions and you listen, that can help get to that root cause of the problem. But because of the traditional medical system that we have, it's, and what we're taught to do is just write a prescription, give them a prescription, put them on a medication, or put them on even when it comes to supplements, put them on a supplement. Well, that may not be the right supplement. It may not be what they actually need. So I love talking to people. I love asking questions. I love trying to help people get to the root cause. And a lot of times, if you just listen to people, they'll tell you and give you all kinds of clues to help you find out what's going on in their body.
100%. One of the most profound things you ever told me in one of our first sessions together, when you were helping me with my supplementation, was supplements are not forever. They are just for now. Like for me, I was having an issue with my hormones rebalancing. I was, let's see, I think when you and I started first working together, I was like a year and 4 months postpartum. And then most doctors say it takes a woman about 2 years to rebalance her hormones completely. So you realize that my testosterone was very, very low. It was within the normal range. So when I went and got my blood work done, and my functional medicine doctor looked at it, she said, well, you're in the normal range. You're at the bottom of it, but you're in the normal range. However, that normal wasn't right for me as a very active person. I work out a lot. I need a little bit more testosterone to get me through my lifestyle. And you said, I could help you with a supplement, increase your natural testosterone production. So where my functional medicine doctor then sent me to a hormone specialist, and the hormone specialist put me on testosterone shots every single week, which I would then become dependent on and need to continue to go back and do. You said, there's a supplement called DHEA that you can take once a day, and that'll help your body naturally start producing testosterone again, and we'll test your levels. And then once your body's in that natural production, we can get you off that supplement. So it's a for now, not forever. It's helping your body start to function the way it's meant to function.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's the approach I would love to see more people take, instead of being so quick to use a chemical or use a hormone replacement drug, is to try to get the body to do it on its own. Supplement, exercise, whatever, food, all the different things that can be used to help in balancing the hormones. do it holistically as possible before going to a medication.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the approach I love.
And I love what you said there about doing things that can help your body naturally increase the production of hormones, such as exercising. People don't realize that when you're exercising, you actually are improving the production of your hormones, right?
Yep.
People don't understand that. That's why I work out. I work out because A, it makes me feel good from within. B, it helps me lower my cortisol levels, which is my stress hormone. C, when I look in the mirror and I look fit, it makes me feel really, really confident, which helps me in business. Like exercise helps me in so many ways, but it gives me natural energy. It helps me with my testosterone. I mean, there's so many good things that exercise does. And a lot of people will say, I don't have time for exercise. Well, you can make time. Dr. Phil, right before this podcast, you went outside and you went for a run around your neighborhood. You made time to exercise. You made time to move. A lot of us are working from home now with this whole COVID situation. You can be on a Zoom call with your camera off doing push-ups. Do 10 push-ups every hour. Do a 1-minute plank every hour. You can make time for 1 minute in every hour just to do something that can actually help you connect yourself to your body, connect your mind to your body, and to get within this beautiful vessel, this temple that we've been given. It's the only one that we're going to have. Move it, use it, or you're going to lose it, my friends.
Amen. You're preaching the message there, sister.
Yes. I mean, we talked a lot about nutrition. We talked a lot about gut, but you know me, I'm a fitness fanatic. I've been working out since I was 13 years old. I'm so blessed that my dad got me in a gym and said, watch me squat 1,000 pounds. My dad was a beast, an amateur weightlifter. And I saw him just start racking up those plates and start pushing that thing. And I was like, I want to do that one day. I'm not at 1,000 pounds. I'm nowhere near that, but I can move some weight in the gym. And guys are like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, it's not for you. It's for me. Thank you though. So I am a big fan of fitness, and you know, I definitely want to share with people that I get it. You're busy. I was an executive. I ran a sales and marketing company for almost 10 years. And I was in the office at 7:30, 8 a.m. I wouldn't be done working till 10, 11 p.m. most days. I had offices on the East Coast. So even though I was living in LA at 5 a.m. LA time, it was 8 a.m. New York time. So, you know, my East Coast offices were going. So my workday started early and it ended late because my sales guys were in Home Depot, Costco, DirecTV, you know, marketing inside Best Buy until 8:30, 9 p.m. So my day wasn't over till 10, 11. So I get being busy. I've been there. But what I've also experienced is executive burnout because I didn't make the time for the things that I needed to keep my body functioning well, to keep my brain functioning well. And it wasn't until I started to incorporate working out. And it could have been just a 30-minute workout in the beginning of the day, sit-ups, push-ups, whether it was at home when I had time or in the office in between meetings. I would get down. You could ask my reps. In a full suit with heels on, I would get down and start doing push-ups in the middle of our meetings. I promise you.
I love it.
I promise you. I would sit down and start doing crunches in a full suit. Make time for movement. It's not that you don't have time. You don't make time. You got to prioritize your life better.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly
there's a quote from your book that I want to share. And if you guys haven't gotten this book, you got to get it. How to Live Until You Die. It's incredible. The key ingredients to living a happy, healthy, and whole life by Dr. Phil Carson. The quote goes as such: people are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. That quote's by Wendell Berry. And it couldn't be more true, right? You go to a doctor and they're helping you with your health, but that health isn't taking into account what you're eating. You go to it's a vicious cycle. So I just want to encourage those that are listening to this episode today. You can reach out to Dr. Phil. His DMs are open, right? It's our new favorite thing to say. And he'll do a consultation with you. I mean, I found Dr. Phil on Clubhouse and I heard him speaking one day about supplementation and nutrition and all these things. And I was like, this guy is brilliant. I reached out to him. He got back to me within 24 hours. We were on a Zoom call, having a Zoom consultation. I live now in Arizona. He's in Mississippi. That went almost 2 hours. And he started to deep dive into my labs. He started to deep dive into my blood work. I sent it all over to him. He's like, wow, there's some deficiencies here. I can help supplement you here. There's some temporary things we can do here to help the natural production of that there. And then he started to ask me questions about my baby. He didn't have to do that. He's like, hey, is your son experiencing these things? We'll have some things that can help him too, because he specializes in also helping infants and young children because they're not getting their nutrition the right way. And he's also a hormone therapy specialist, which is going to be for the next episode. We're saving that one for next time. So he understands hormones, gut, supplementation, pharmaceuticals. He went to school for pharmaceuticals. So he has a traditional medicine experience. So reach out to Dr. Phil. I'll be leaving his information in the show notes here for you so that you can get in contact with him. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help you along your journey as well through some of the things that I've experienced. But we just want to get the message out there to our listeners and to our audience that don't feel defeated. Just because you're going to doctors today and you're taking a bunch of medication, you might have a whole tray right next to your sink on your vanity that you're taking every morning. Don't feel defeated. It's never too late to start this journey of optimal wellness. And there are people out there who are specialists that can help you along that journey. And Dr. Phil is one of the angels that was brought into my life. He will start to look at your blood work in a different way from a different viewpoint. And he will give you information that fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of doctors are not educated on. It is what it is. And there's a lot of doctors out there that are doing great things. So again, nothing against doctors. We love you. We appreciate you. When my father was diagnosed with cancer and he was only given a very short period of time to live, it was the doctors that kept him alive for over 8 years. So I appreciate them. I love them. But when it comes to these gut issues, there's a gap. There's a gap that needs to be bridged with a different form of medicine. And that medicine comes in the form of integrative wellness. It comes in the form of holistic wellness. And, I'm so happy to have met someone like Dr. Phil that has all this knowledge and he's willing to share it so openly with everyone and help so openly because he is a man of servitude. He is here to help and serve others because of his passion and also because of his story. He was in a position where he experienced pain. The reason why I became a holistic health coach is because of my situation, my story, and what I went through. And years and years and years of going from doctor to doctor to doctor, being told this is normal. Being bloated, that's just how your body is. That's normal. Having that acne, that's normal. That's just your hormones. And it's not normal. Acne is a sign of inflammation bursting on your skin, which is oftentimes coming from your gut. People don't realize that. Bloating is a sign that your body's screaming and saying, I don't feel good. This doesn't feel good. You put something in me that I don't want here. But doctors will tell you sometimes that's normal, or they'll just give you a pill to help you with it, right? And that pill, again, it causes other side effects. Don't band-aid the situation, get to the root cause. And Dr. Phil is one of those angels that I wanted to bring to Failing Forward as one of those people that can help you get to the root cause.
Amen.
Amen. Dr. Phil, we have so much more that we can talk about. And me knowing you and you knowing me, we can go on for hours and hours, but I want to respect your time. I would love to have you back for a second episode so we can deep dive into nutrition and exercise and the NEWSSS from your book and talk about hormone therapy, if you would so have us.
Yes, absolutely. Would absolutely love that. And I'm so grateful, so appreciative of you bringing me on today and having me as a guest on your podcast. It's been an absolute honor. I want to say one thing before we close here. One of my passions is to inspire people to take charge of their own health and be their own health advocate. And so I have a quote, and I love quotes, and I've got them all throughout my book because I love quotes. And this is one I want to share to close this out today. And I think it's very fitting with all the things that we talked about today. It says, in the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die. And the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. That's a quote by former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. And I love that quote, and she's absolutely right. And it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves. So thank you again, Nikou, for having me today. It's been awesome.
I really appreciate you. And yes, I have to further amplify what you just said. We have to be an advocate of our own health. And sometimes you need second opinions, third opinions. I got 7 opinions last year because I really wanted to figure out, I was kind of like trying to check, is what this doctor said, what this doctor's saying. I wanted to make sure I got the full scope of what everyone thought was wrong with me before I made a decision on how I was going to take care of myself. Because at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to take responsibility for our choices. But most importantly, we have to take the responsibility for being an advocate of our own health. Thank you for that, Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you.
I appreciate you, sir. We loved having you here today on Failing Forward podcast as episode 1. There was no one else that I was going to give this spot to. I have a list of 7 people lined up for the next 2 weeks. And I was like, nope, episode 1's going to be Dr. Phil. So thank you for being the first to come on here and share your knowledge, your wisdom, your life's work with us. We truly appreciate you. Humbled and blessed for you to be here with me. God bless you. We'll talk very soon.
Thank you for the honor. God bless you.
Thank you. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. There will be another episode coming up with Dr. Phil Carson. Please go ahead and take a look into the show notes where you can find his information, how to contact him, reach out to him, consult with him. And I'll also drop a link there for his book, because if you haven't grabbed it, you need to. How to Live Until You Die, the 7 Keys to Living Happy, Healthy, and Whole. Dr. Phil, we appreciate you. Everyone else, have a great, fantastic rest of your day. Start to move forward with inspiration, motivation, empowerment, and knowing that your life is just one step away from being the best version that it can be. We love you. God bless. Bye.